Welcome to today's broadcast from FellowMind, where we are to look into how you unlock the power of data-driven sustainability to reach real business results. Sorry, some technicalities around here. Great. Now it seems to be working again. Some thumbs up. My name is Louise Ors. I'm the Group Sustainability Manager at FellowMind. I lead our work on how to help you customers, as well as actually our internal efforts. So I know exactly the challenges you are facing. With me today, I have Microsoft, Daniel McCaggy. You are a technical lead on sustainability within the EMEA region.
Indeed.
And Andrew, you are a sustainability partner lead, so we work a lot together.
We do work very lot together.
Yeah, on how we help you.
Customers, yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I will just walk you through the agenda of the day. So we are starting with me actually looking into the sustainability challenges you are most likely currently facing. I'm then handing over to Andrew and Daniel on how Microsoft and its Cloud for Sustainability can turn enterprise data into sustainability reporting insights and business transformation. They will, of course, also cover how AI is enabling effective reporting, as well as how to improve your performance. Then I'm back to how we at FellowMind can support you with digital transformation driving your sustainability journey. And there we will as well show you some real customer cases. And then we are closing off for today. Shortly on whom FellowMind are, I think Microsoft, you are, we all know who Microsoft are, but shortly for you who might not be working with us today, I want to give you an introduction of FellowMind. We are, per today, a European Microsoft partner fully focused on Microsoft's technology. We are plus 2,000 fellows, operating from 40 offices in 6 countries, the Netherlands, Denmark, where we are broadcasting from today, Sweden, Germany, Poland, and Finland. Many of our customers are situated in Europe, but we do have global customers as well as a global partner network. And we are very proud to be amongst the top 1 Microsoft partners globally. With that said, we have the certifications and awards that reflect the strength of our expertise. This partnership is at core of how we deliver the best solutions to you customers, making sure you get the most out of your digital transformation. We just don't offer technology. We also ensure our customers are well supported to adopt and maximize these innovations. At FellowMind, we believe that sustainability and digitalization go hand in hand, and we have some examples here on the services that we are providing. Sustainability maturity assessment can be a quick scan that we actually touch upon in the end, helping you with your digital sustainability strategy, how digital transformation actually can help you in your sustainability journey. Of course, sustainability and CSRD reporting, as well as establishing and working efficiently with an ESG data platform and insights. We are very proud to received both nominations and awards from Microsoft of being a forefront runner on ESG, 2 times as a global finalist in the Sustainability Changemaker category. And this year as well, FellowMind Netherlands won the prize as Partner of the Year on ESG. This is with the cases that we are to present later today with the Finnish steel manufacturer OSDP and the Dutch refurbishment company Drake & Farrell. So you'll get into how we actually supported them. Sustainability is at the focus today, but as I mentioned, we are a full cloud provider, so we do all these other solutions and services around that. Let's zoom out to us, and throughout this webinar, we are having a poll opened If you want us to reach out to you on how we can support you with any of these services or any other way to help you on your sustainability journey, we will then get back to you after the webinar. There is as well a chat where you can pull in any of your questions. We will then get back on those as well after the webinar. We are not addressing those in this call to actually manage all we want to share with you today. With that said, what challenges are we facing? Well, there are numerous. Those, of course, can differ from what kind of industry, what country you are operating from, but there are at least these ones that we see across all our customers. We will have an EU perspective throughout the broadcast today. With that said, of course, with the CSRD, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, affecting over 50,000 companies among EU to advance their sustainability reporting to a very large extent. There are some regulatory requirements that, of course, can be very challenging to you. The complexity around regulations, both in terms of that there are several directive standards that both overlap, but on the other hand also have their own intentions, such as the CSRD being a reporting directive. We also have the EU taxonomy regulation on how financial activities are affecting climate or actually mitigating climate change. There is the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive on how to become more sustainable within your value chain. We have the CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. I mean, they are all part of Europe's, the EU's Green Deal, but working on it in different angles. With that said, it's both on sustainability and as well on the financial effects. You have to do a double materiality assessment as part of being CSRD compliant, where you have to have both inside out, how are we affecting the outer world, the planet, the society around us, as well how is the outer world affecting us. What if there is a flooding next to my production site? What if there is fire due to hot summers? Will I actually be able to run my operations? With that said, it's becoming much more complex to operate this, to report on this, and there is a need, of course, for resource allocation. In smaller businesses, it might be that you actually don't have the resources. In larger ones, it's maybe more that you have this distributed environment of data in different systems, ownership being in different countries, doing it in a different way. So to align on this, of course, can be very complex. And with that said, also there are complexities on reporting. There are not. I mean, now we have the CSRD. That is, of course, with an intention to streamline, standardize the reporting on sustainability across Europe. But there are also other voluntary or legal standards across the globe. Of course, EU have done their best to align with us, those such as the GRI and IFRS SASB. But it might be challenging to actually address all of them at once. Also, with the CSRD, we are not longer only reporting on climate change, but other environmental topics such as biodiversity, water, waste, circular economy. We have social aspects, your own workforce, your own employees, your workers along the value chain, you, customers and end users, as well as governance and running your business in an ethical and responsible way. You have to do this double materiality to actually see what is material to your business. So it might not be that you actually have to report on all these 12 subtopics on the CSRD that I just mentioned. But nevertheless, it's for sure much more comprehensive than before for many businesses. We also then have the requirement to have external auditors reviewing and assure your report, just like with your financial statements. So this, of course, your data needs to be trustworthy. There needs to be a traceability of your data. Post-its, Excel, mails will not manage.
Nope.
I'm in this right now myself, and I mean it's both on the data and I mean the systems, what we do in our computers, but it's just as well on how do we work on this together. And with that said, we then have running into the next one, data management. Where now almost starting to repeat ourselves, and you have to consolidate this data, make it unified, integrated to actually get that full high-level overviewing picture. It needs to be accurate, I mean, both from this assurance, third-party auditing, but just as well to actually, I mean, drive a good, effective change. You want to, of course, know your actual energy consumption and not base it on invoices that are 1 year old. Even if that would work maybe for reporting right now for that we of course expect as well. I mean, I do believe just like we have quarterly financial statements, we will have the same on at least for listed companies going forward on how they are doing on their sustainability efforts. And then we're getting closer to actually integrate your sustainability efforts into your business strategy and business operation, where it's not any longer just about reporting and compliance, but actually how you run your business more efficient and likely also reducing costs mentioned with energy consumption. Not only will you lower your emissions if you do that more efficiently, you will reduce your costs that we all want to do. There's also a greater need to actually differentiate from your competitors. We already see the trend with customers and market asking and demanding more and more sustainable and green products. So of course, to stay ahead on those insights, it's crucial to be, by this point, maybe a leader on it, but in the long run to actually survive. And then, of course, the actual driving the change, making us more, foremost, more environmentally friendly. So just like with anything you do in your business, you need to be able to track your performance, and that really requires good data quality. As well as there are the more social aspects. We mentioned the due diligence standard on how you reach fair wages, maybe not within your own company. That's one thing that is quite monitored and regulated in the EU, but across your entire value chain. And so it goes with the emissions as well, as we will touch upon in the different scopes. It's not just your own footprint, but actually the entire value chain. With that said, I'm now handing over to you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Louise. Okay, so Daniel and I want to talk to you a little bit about Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability. This is the portfolio of solutions that we have at Microsoft to help our customers around voluntary and regulatory frameworks. Some of those that Louise has already talked about, and I'll touch on those again in a little bit. Okay, so one of the first things we typically get asked is, okay, great, but what are you doing, Microsoft, about this? Take your platform aside, your technology aside, what are you doing about this as an organization to be sustainably responsible? So from our point of view, we have this absolute commitment, and it was a bold commitment to make sure that we're carbon negative, water positive, and zero waste generated by the company by 2030. So that's an absolute commitment made. But saying that, what a lot of people don't know is that we've actually been on this journey for a long time now. We started this back in 2009. Back then, it was all about accessibility to our technology within the workforce and the workplace. It was about how we train and certify people on this technology and the evolving capabilities of technology. And also about providing internet access to people who may not necessarily have that. So this is something that we've been doing for a long time and tracking these things. But now we're very much around that, like I said, carbon negative, water positive, zero waste. But one of the things we're looking at as well, we're looking outward as well between 2030 and 2050, and working out how we can actually remove the emissions that we've created as an organization. So the equivalent amount of carbon or the electricity that we've used and consumed. We're looking at taking that back since we were founded back in 1975. So really trying to protect the planet in everything we do. This is a statement from our CEO, Satya Nadella, and I really like this because it frames the discussion and it frames the problem statement really well. And basically what Satya is saying is that sort of in months to come, in years to come, having a sustainability business capability will be as important as having an ERP system and a CRM system. So ERP has been around a very long time. CRM has been around a long time. They're the big data workloads, and it's all about data. It's all about reporting. When we think about sustainability, it's not that much different. You know, it is about reporting. It's about regulation. It's about ensuring governance and compliance. But most importantly, it's about the data. And one of the things that Daniel and I want to talk to you about today is it's all about the data. You know, it's great being CSRD ready, but other regulations, as Louise has already touched on, are coming down the road. So we have to make sure that we have the data available. And through having the data available, that is what can effectively drive the efficiencies. And again, you know, CSRD is it's not something simple. It's not something easy for for companies to comply to. But the reality is, it can actually drive business value, and it will drive business value. It's not just about CSRD, and many times we remind customers of this. Absolutely, there's a need to baseline starting in January. There's a need to disclose 2026, but there are other regulations coming as well. So whatever you're doing, be mindful of those regulations when we're looking at the data collection, what's material and what's not material to us as an organization. So our platform gives you that ability to respond to those emerging regulations, improves efficiencies and reduces costs. And we're seeing a lot of organizations now looking at ways of driving down costs through efficiencies of data collection using this information, but also identifying through the supply chain, those things that are not so necessarily sustainable, but also that don't particularly drive the business value that companies want. So it's a great inward look at yourself as an organization to take action to drive down those costs. And anticipating and exceeding stakeholder needs. And when we talk about a stakeholder, this isn't just the company. You know, it's not just our customers. It's not just our suppliers. It's not just the city and the markets. You know, the stakeholders are very much the people who work there. Pretty much every employee today is very conscious of, you know, what's sustainable, what's the impact of our organization from a sustainability point of view. How responsible are we doing, and how are we tracking to that? And we'll talk to you a little bit about that today, and we'll get Daniel to show you some of those capabilities. Improving resilience and reducing risk, that's a big thing, because, you know, when we look at these regulatory frameworks like CSRD, they come at a cost if you don't comply. In France, they're already talking about custodial sentences. I don't know whether that'll get carried through, but that's the narrative that's being played out. If we look at what's happening in Spain, you know, there are €1,000 a day fines if you're not reporting the waste that your products are bringing in to the Spanish borders. So there are things like that that we have to take into account, and this is significant risk to businesses when we think about the potential penalties that effectively could be impacted by. And as I mentioned before, ultimately, once you start to automate this, when you start to have the processes and procedures, once you start to get that sustainable value chain, you can actually start to see these sustainable lines of business, you know, and this is something you can share with companies, with customers, with the markets, with your suppliers to show what you're doing to really drive that impact. So Louise has already talked about CSRD. Again, I'll make the statement once more. It's not just about CSRD. We fondly refer to it in Microsoft as the alphabet soup of voluntary and non-voluntary frameworks. You know, when you think about EUDR, the deforestation program, CBAM, which we already talked about, carbon border adjustment mechanism, CS-triple-D, it just goes on and on and on. But it's not just about that. So that's why it's so very, very important to look beyond CSRD, really focus on the data, really understanding what's material to the business, and really understanding the processes associated with the acquisition of that data and kind of the process of that data. So Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability, which is what we're going to talk about and what we're going to show to you very shortly. Some of the kind of core pillars that we pivot around is this notion of ESG data. So ESG data is environmental, social, governance. And everything we do focuses around ESG and the data set. what we've done is we've brought together a consistent and common data model for environmental, social, and governance based on the frameworks that are out there today. So when we think about CSRD, we built that into our data model. Think about things like GRI. We've built that into our data model. And the important point is that, to have one view of the truth, you need all of your data consolidated, augmented, transformed, calculated in one place. There's no point having it in 20, 30, 40, 50 different systems that you're trying to mash together with a spreadsheet. You will never achieve the efficiencies that you're trying to drive for. And you're highly unlikely to sort of get to CSRD by 2026. So it's all about the data and how we can bring that in, how we can transform it all, with little effort. But it's also about the insights. Once you've got data in one place, what that actually means is from that point, you can actually derive insights from the information. And what we mean by that is it's not just a reporting piece. It's, well, what can we do with that data? How can we question the data to say, well, look, our carbon output looks terrible for this outlet. What do we do about working out how we can improve the efficiencies in that particular facility to drive down those carbon emissions? It's also about help me understand where we are in relation to our CSRD commitments. This is when you can use AI to really derive some kind of learnings and insights from the data that you've got. So there's a whole wealth of data that you can really mine into. And that provides you new opportunities. At the end of the day, if you find that parts of your supply chain aren't sustainable, there are always ways to go find new opportunities within there to sort of drive those efficiencies and drive that sustainable pipeline because you've got the data to support the narrative. So again, it's very much about the data. So just before we go to a demo, I just want to quickly show this slide. So our Cloud for Sustainability platform, just want to be super clear, we are very much about the environmental, the social, and the governance reporting. It's not just about carbon emission output, scope 1, 2, 3. We cover carbon, we cover water, we cover waste, touch on biodiversity, we have social, we have governance, all built into that ESG data model. And what we're going to touch on shortly is the product that's just highlighted there with the yellow box. So this is something called Sustainability Manager, which is our kind of one-stop shop, if you will, for all the capabilities around the platform, whether that be data ingestion or reporting, and also something called ESG reporting, which is the tool that we use effectively to provide you those templates to output your CSRD disclosures, your GRI reports, your CSDDD reports, as and when we get to that. So that's what we're going to touch on. So we're going to flip to Daniel now. We're going to flip over to Daniel's machine. Daniel's got Microsoft Sustainability Manager running for us in his demo environment. And we're going to kick off with a bit of a demonstration. So, Daniel.
Sure.
We've talked about data quite a bit.
We have.
So, all about the data. So, obviously, the first thing we've got to do is we've got to get that data in. So, talk to us a little bit about how we can bring the data into the system, please.
So, there are various ways of doing this, but I guess to sort of provide an example here of how could ourselves or one of our customers input a piece of information or some data. In this case, for the sake of an example, let's do maybe some purchase electricity. We will click next, and what we'd find here is we would find a list of all of the out-of-the-box connectors that you would find in the Sustainability Manager. So we have things like Excel spreadsheets, Oracle databases, another database, Synapse Analytics, Google Analytics, Salesforce. Pretty much there's a big variety of connectors you can find here.
And what I'm seeing, sorry, on the screen there, Daniel, checklist templates. That means we can help people with the data that we're acquiring.
Yes, of course. So if the user doesn't have any particular knowledge of the science of the engineering of sustainability, they can always go into this list and find out, number one, what pieces of information are actually required to be present in whatever we're importing, and just on some other optional data we can include here. I find very important to underline here, what we see here is all of the out-of-the-box connectors. This platform here is very easy to configure. So if you had the need to configure, to add an extra connector to go to a very specific database or any specific form of information, that's something you can do. And where you as a partner can help us.
But I mean, I'm really happy with all the out of the box.
Exactly.
It's not about doing each and a new customization for you as a customer and then the next customer, but actually it's more of leveraging than
And
what it's already there.
Absolutely. It's a really important point. We
Yeah.
can't do what we do without our partners. So without the likes of Fellowminds, we can't deliver this technology. We're the software. We create the software, we develop the software, evolve the software, but it's down to Fellowmind and the team who actually go deliver this for
Indeed.
us. So, applause for that.
Yeah.
And I saw Excel on there, Daniel.
Yeah,
So just
Excel.
looking at the screen, I know we always tell people don't use Excel, but the reality is we're never going to get away from it.
That is where we are right now.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
where we're likely. I mean, I know myself, Fellowmind, and other customers. You have a lot of your current data in Excel, so let's start there. Let's not wait for that full scale implementation of.
Yeah.
Quick and easy way.
Yeah.
So we've got the data. Yeah. We've brought the data effectively. We're going to bring it in through one of those connectors you talked about.
So a couple of things would happen here. So let's say, for the sake of an example, we would go ahead and we would choose an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
We get the spreadsheet, we connect to it, we bring it in. Two things would happen now. The first one is we would get the option to automate the data ingestion. So if we want this to happen every day, every hour, every week, every month, every year, we can choose to do so.
Yeah.
And the second thing, we could also choose to automap whatever we brought in. So if whatever we're bringing in is in a different language, in a different unit, and whatever it is, we can make sure that the sustainability manager finds the right information in the right cell or whatever it is and brings it where it has to bring it in. So as you can imagine, all these customers, they might have different spreadsheets, information lying all over the place. The sustainability manager will make sure it finds the right information and bringing it at the same time.
Got it. Excellent. So going back to the system.
Yeah.
Just having a look at the screen again. So we've got the data. We brought the data in. That's not enough, right? We have to run the calculations.
Indeed.
So how do we go about that, and what does that mean, please?
Sure. So we would go into our calculation models here. As we were talking before, for the sake of an example, purchase electricity. Let's go for renewable. What would happen is we've just ingested a bunch of raw data, right? So what happens with this raw data is that now we have to go ahead and we have to pair it with what we call factors. So in this case up here, we have the node name, we have a description, we have an emission report value, the unit, and most importantly, we have an emission factor library. Now, what's an emission factor library? Depending of where we're operating, either we're operating in the UK or we're operating in the EU, these governmental bodies will release factor libraries, which are the factors that we're going to have to sort of pair with the raw data to generate carbon emissions.
Yeah.
So what happens here is, if we go back again to my screen, we have here our factor libraries. So again, we have pretty much all the factor libraries from the US, from the Europe, from the EU, from the UK, in this case, DEFRA. Now, again, very important to mention here, these are managed by us. All of these factor libraries that are out of the box in Sustainability Manager are managed by us. What does this mean? As I said before, one of the things you can do with all this data is automate it. So if by some reason the EU, I don't know, decides to change a factor for something specific, because we're the ones managing this, if you have the whole process automated from the data ingestion to the calculations to the output of our report, we're the ones that are going to update that new factor, so you wouldn't have to do anything at all. It will be automatically there and it will be ready to go.
So I guess in summary, we've got a set of default libraries. We keep those updated. There's calculation models come with that, but there are always calculation models that are not in there, where companies are having non-standard. And again, this is where Fellowmind come in, being able to create that calculation model specific to those requirements.
Or specific library or emission factors as well, that you're more industry specific or country specific.
Of course, absolutely. Excellent. So, got the data, we've brought it in, we've ingested it, we've calculated it. We want to actually see some output now. So we want to understand how we're tracking from a scope 1, a scope 2, scope 3 capability. So talk to us a little bit about how we do the reporting, how we get some insights from this information, please.
So once we've created we've done a calculation model, we created a calculation profile, which is the raw data paired with the factor. Then we run the calculation. We have emissions, and here you're going to find a list of sort of all the emissions we've generated through our exercises, and you will find all of these in what we call the executive dashboard. Now, the executive dashboard is a very good and very easy way of sort of macro visualizing everything that's happening in our organization. So we have things like emissions, revenue intensity, renewable energy, water intensity. And then in the right-hand side, we have by country or region, which again, country, there are countries, but regions you can configure these as however you want. Organizational units, facilities, and it's also quite interesting because pretty much everything you click on, it's interactable. So the way we sort of built up this solution is that it's very interactable, it's very easy to visualize where things coming from, it's very user-friendly.
So sorry, just on that organizational unit. So if a company's got quite a complex organizational structure, in terms of a headquarters, multiple operating currencies, legal entities, we can replicate that in the solution, right?
Indeed, yes. So no matter how complex your hierarchy is, no matter how many countries and how many regions you're operating, we can mimic exactly what's happening in your organizational hierarchy. And then we can apply all these filters you see on the left-hand side, just to make sure you visualize what you really want to visualize, where data is coming from, where are your emissions coming from. Now, if we want to take a sort of a step a bit deeper, we would go then into what we call our emission insights. And as you can see, it's quite similar to what we just saw now, with the exceptions that on top, now we have all these bunch of tabs. So we have scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, renewable energy, deep analysis, and so on. So for example, let's say, I don't know, we want to have a bit of a deeper dive in scope 3. We would find here our scope 3 emissions. Under, we would find the sort of 15 subcategories. And if we, for example, want to have a bit of a look of what's happening here, so I don't know, wasted, generated in operations, we would click on it. And then we would find out that actually we have all these emissions coming from our composted waste and this other coming from landfill. And again, if we want to, we can click on it. All the graphs, all the tables move around.
All updated.
So very easy to visualize.
But what about if we want to kind of go away from that lens that is scope 1, 2, 3 and want a bit of a data analysis to say, okay, well, let's look at this by organizational unit or facility or something like that?
Well, in this case, we would have what we call the deep analysis tool. And I find this a very, very, very interesting tool because what it allows you to do is to sort of peel the onion and go deeper and deeper and deeper in the layers of your hierarchy. So let's say we have all these total emissions, and now we want to understand in terms of scope where are all of our emissions coming from. So we have scope 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm wondering scope 3. Well, I actually want to understand from which country are these coming from. We can see the biggest sort of provider or generator is in this case Kenya. I want to find out what kind of activity type is this coming from, and so on and so on and so on. So again, it's very easy to visualize understanding where is everything coming from, slicing it, peeling, going deeper and deeper and deeper.
Excellent. I love that. So that's great. And again, we're kind of analyzing the data. We're getting deep on the data, but taking a step back from an organizational point of view, we're going to have a strategy around sustainability. So how do we create our own goals in relation to sustainability, and then how we're tracking to those goals as an organization?
In that case, we would go to what we call scorecards and goals. And this, at the end of the day, is placed here to make your life easier when it comes to understanding where are you, where is your organization, where is a specific team when it comes to achieving your sustainability goals. So in this case, we have this carbon reduction. So we can see the baseline value, we can see the current progress and the target on top. Here we have some history. In this case, it's on track. It could also be at risk or not met or met. Now, important thing to mention here, as we mentioned before, we talked about automatizing the import of data. Well, as we automate the data import, we can also automate the status update method. So this means that every time we ingest data, we can also find out how is that helping us achieve our sustainability goals or not. How can we actually visualize it? Right. We can create alerts, we can create notifications. It just makes it very, very easy to, again, understand track. Where are we when it comes to achieving our goals.
Yeah. And it's quite important to say that a lot of the kind of dashboards that you're seeing there are reports. It's Power BI, right? So these are the standard dashboards that come with a platform. But again, our partner Fellamind, they spend a lot of time around building custom dashboards that are very specific to individual companies, organizations, and roles in the company, right? Yeah.
And we can still continue to embed them in Sustainability Manager. So once again, you have this one-stop shop for your as an ESG manager or ESG controller where you review and work on this data.
Excellent. So we talked a lot about environmental data.
Indeed.
Let's talk a little bit about the kind of more broader, the social and governance stuff.
Sure.
So we've not really talked about that. So if we just have a quick look at the screen now.
Yep.
Talk to me a bit about how we started bringing that social and governance data as well as the environmental data,
Sure.
please.
So we've built here two dashboards, one for CSRD, which again, it sort of encompasses everything from environmental, social, governance. And what we have here is basically a display of all the data we have on environmental, social, and governance, right? So for example, here we have some data on climate change. On the other side, we have some social data. In this case, it's data about employer gender diversity or the board's gender diversity.
One of the metrics and measures in CSRD.
Of course. Yeah. It's necessary. However, if we want to now talk specifically about social and governance, again, we can click here on social and governance and have again that bit of a real sense of what's happening here. So we have governance, workforce health and safety, workforce training. We have some filters on the right hand side. So it's just very, very easy to get all that data you have lying around and re-visualizing how you want. If you want to see some things, you can. If you want to just click on some of these filters, you can as well. But everything's here in one place.
And again, highlighting the importance of having a consolidated data set. Consolidated ESG data set where the data is in one place, which allows us to easily report on this information, whether it be environmental, social, and governance.
Indeed.
And what about, so CSRD, keep talking about that. There are other frameworks. How do we go about dealing with something like GRI, the Global Reporting Initiative?
Sure. So here we have one of the other products or features within our cloud. It's the Project ESG reporting tool. And what we have here, it's a one place to really track and really ingest all our reports for environmental, social, and governance. So in this case, I can show you the active the standards that we currently have, which, by the way, it's growing on a huge scale. We have things like GRI, we have CSRD, the Australian Sustainability Reporting Standards, and so on and so on. And again, we're adding more and more and more as we speak. So, for example, if we wanted to go ahead and create a new report, we would just click New, and I'm showing you here an example of a CSRD report we did. So, for example, we have the organizational unit, the standard, in this case, CSRD, the reporting period, in this case, 2024.
So we can have multiple.
Yeah.
We can have a FY23, 24, 25, 26.
Indeed, yes. Okay. And then, if you just want to add some evidence, you just click on Add New Evidence, and then you just add a new approval, and you can then sort of match them one to another.
Yeah. And I guess, knowing CSRD, I think there's about 1,000 points or something like that in there. We're only actually showing in here what's material to that organization.
Yes.
Not all. Yeah, absolutely. The output of the DMA, the double materiality assessment. Absolutely. And I can see there on the screen, we've got that organizational unit as well. So we can do a disclosure, either at a consolidated view, or we can do a disclosure at an entity level.
Yep.
Okay.
Indeed.
Excellent. And I'm kind of guessing GRI, exactly the same principles.
So again, if we go back, we can just click on GRI, and the same thing happens. If we want to add, if we want to create a new GRI assessment, we just create new. You just put in your name, the standard you want to work with, the period, the organizational unit, and again, you just click new. You add the new evidence you want to create. You name it, what's regarding the actual document, and the owner. Again, everything that happens here is auditable and traceable. So when all these names, all these factors, all these documents will always be there, and you will always be able to understand when did it happen, how did it happen, and so on.
Got it. And one of the cool features I did see in that, that there's a little bit of repetition between some of these frameworks. I think that's a fair statement to make. I do believe that when we're in something like CSRD and we go across to do a GRI disclosure, if we're pulling through one of the measures or the metrics or the KPIs from CSRD, it will see that we've already got that data collated, so we're not having to duplicate that function.
Indeed, yes.
Excellent. That's a great way of showing how we drive efficiency.
Very useful.
Yeah, exactly. So, brilliant. Thank you. Appreciate that, Daniel. We're now going to talk a little bit about AI. So we're going to come back to me, talk a little bit about AI and what we're doing in relation to our platform. And as Microsoft, I'm sure you've seen us talk about AI quite a bit. I'm sure you've heard us talk about co-pilots quite a bit. Every investment we make around AI, we invest it into the platform and the product. It doesn't matter whether it's Microsoft Teams, whether it's D365, whether it's our M365 product, Word, PowerPoint, etc. We're building it into every single platform, and that's exactly the same for Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability. So the investments in AI, again, are getting replicated within Cloud for Sustainability, both what we have today and in terms of what our future roadmap looks like. So just when we kind of look at the high-level architecture, we're not going to go techie, don't worry, we're not going to go techie in this in any way, but it's just, again, it's important to understand how we sort of pull things together. So you can see on the left-hand side, this is where we're pulling all the information in, the environmental, the social, and the governance. So everything from your scope 3 supply chain So that's probably one of the most complex areas because that's data we don't own. So we have capabilities to help us with that acquisition of the Scope 3 data. Scope 1 and 2 we've already talked about, social and governance. We bring it into our system. That gets loaded into that cloud sustainability data model that you can see at the bottom of the screen there. And this is where we hold the consolidated view of the information. In parallel to that, once we've done the data ingestion, we then start to run sort of the transformation. A lot of that can be the deduplication of information, the cleansing of the information and the data. And then once we've got to that point, we can run calculations. Now, again, it's important to say that, you know, a lot of the information that we looked at there in Scope 1, 2, and 3, that's what we call quantitative data. And that means it's typically a value. But there's a lot of qualitative information that needs to come in as part of CSRD. And that means that you've got to put things like evidential information against a particular measure. So it's not enough just to say, yeah, we've got diversity in the workforce. You need to be able to evidence that and prove that as part of it. So again, we're pulling that data all into one place. Once you've got that data in one place, that then means you can start to derive insights. Those insights can be shared to internal teams, to supply chains, or to external bodies. But it's at that point we can actually start to harness the power of AI to really start leveraging some functional capabilities, to drive down costs, to drive automation. So we're going to touch on a couple of things. We're going to touch on something called intelligent insights and what-if scenarios, but I just want to talk to you about some of the other capabilities that we have in the platform and is coming into the platform. So some of the stuff is here, some of it is coming. So when we think about documents, you know, there's a lot of documentation associated with any regulation framework. I don't know how many pages CSRD is, but it's not going to be a double-sided piece of A4. For sure. So we're getting a lot of information. And again, you want to be able to farm and mine that so that you can actually get some sense out of it that's relevant to you. So document analysis is one of the great features we have where you can pull documentation in, whether it be PDF, whether it be Word, using machine learning. You know, we can learn the data in there and we can go ask it questions with Copilot. So we can say, okay, tell us, you know, give me a bit of an update or a bit of an output around CSRD, how it's relevant to my country. Is it relevant to me? Blah, blah, blah. So that's using document processing and document automation. We can also do things like taking an invoice that's in a PDF format, and we can actually read that. We can extract the data from that, and then we can upload that into the data model. So again, we can do that automation because a lot of customers, a lot of suppliers are still using printed matter, whether that be electronic or physically. We need to be able to process that. So again, we have the capabilities around that. Copilot, you know, everybody's got a Copilot in Microsoft. We've got one too. And some of the things that we're doing with that is, you know, we keep saying it's all about the data. It's great having the data there, but you know, you want to work with it. You want to get some sort of narrative from it. So we have this idea of chatting with data, and I love this feature. This is quite literally you go ask it a question. Okay, so what is my Scope 3 emission data for this particular outlet for this particular period? You literally use natural language, you ask it a question, it brings that information back for you. So that's really showing the power of kind of how something like a Copilot, a chatbot can bring you information back. But the other thing is, you know, generating calculation models. You can use a Copilot to do it, but the reality is some of them are very complicated when you kind of get down into the detail. But there could be just a simple calculation model or an adjustment to a calculation model that you need. So that's, again, where you could use a Copilot just to type in natural language, say, go create me this. It'll do its best to get you where it needs to be. It may be enough. If it's not enough, then obviously the likes of fellow mine come in. And yeah, Copilot is not for that. Fellow mine then come in and kind of finish that off. And then the other part is around sustainability disclosure reporting. We're looking at ways that we can make it a little bit easier just to kind of help produce the outputs of this information. So just some other things that we're looking at. So these are not necessarily here today. They're just they're being looked at as part and parcel of our roadmap. So CBAM is something that is coming and is here largely. So the carbon border adjustment mechanism. We're looking at a way that we can use what we call a Copilot template, which effectively is creating a Copilot to go and look at effectively the traffic, or effectively look at, you know, what products have gone in and out of what borders. And once you've worked that out, we can do a rough estimate calculation off the back of that using Copilot to track the data, calculate the data, and make some recommendations and suggestions. If you're snapping to SBTI, that's the Science-Based Target Initiatives, again, we could use Copilot to say, how are we performing in relation to SBTI? How can we do better? How can we improve on that using Copilot to do that? And then the other side of it is really giving, again, some power back to your stakeholders. So how can somebody as an employer of whatever company we're talking about, how can they go and ask a chatbot how the company's doing in relation to scope 1 emissions, scope 2 emissions. What are we doing to make the world a better place? You know, asking those kind of questions using a co-pilot. And again, a lot of this stuff will only ever get you so far. And this is why the importance of the partner, we can't stress this enough. It's so important to have the partner there to help you, to work with you, to hold your hand to a large extent, to get you to where you need to be so you can really derive the value from the platform. So, just kind of in, there's a couple of things we want to see now. So we're gonna go back to Daniel if we can. I touched on what if analysis. I touched on intelligent insights. So first, we're going to have a very quick look at what if analysis. So everybody wants to know what happens if you change A to B.
Sure.
So talk to us a little bit about what if, please, Dan.
I mean, what if analysis is just a great way of emulating new scenarios, right? So, I mean, what if I go from, generating heat from coal to generating heat from a renewable energy source? What if we go from business traveling in train to business traveling in plane or whatever it is? It's a what if. What if I change strategy? So in this case, we have here a mobile combustion change. So we've gone from, let me just open this really quick. So we've gone from using different fuel types. So in this case, it's light duty trucks that we're using, but we're going from ethanol, which is our current strategy, into compressed natural gas. So if we can see here, we have the current history of what we've done so far in terms of CO2 emissions.
About too bad so far.
No, not too bad, but getting better. And this is the existing strategy, an emulation of what will happen if we continue with our current strategy. However, if we change strategy, if we actually go, in this case, into compressed natural gas, we can see that there's a reduction in CO2 emissions of almost 60%.
Wow.
So again, it's just very easy to just ask, hey, what if I go from this strategy into this other strategy? And yeah, it's just very, very possible with the help of AI.
And that's just one scenario, right? So we could equally say what happens to our carbon emission output if I change from supplier A to supplier B. We can go build that model into the system.
Yeah, essentially anything that's listed within scopes 1, scopes 2, scope 3, and all the subcategories, you can say, hey, what if I go from here to there? And it'll just display it to you in a matter of seconds.
Amazing. And what about data? So we've talked a lot about data. Quality data is critical, not just during the ingestion process, but equally when we look forward and we look back. So what happens if we start to get anomalies in our data?
Sure.
Are we going to see that, or are we going to come and hit us?
Well, I mean, the truth is, a lot of our customers, they're importing a lot of Excel spreadsheets. You can imagine some of these spreadsheets with, I don't know, maybe 100 columns and 150,000 rows. So it's very, very hard to sort of understand when there's some audits here, some weird trend or something going on. And that's why, if we look at the screen, we have what we call intelligent insights. So what we've done here is we've got AI and sort of sprinkled or infused this data model with AI. And what happens here is that what the platform or in this case Sustainability Manager does is it gains an idea on your calculated data and pre-calculated data. So again, it can also be done with raw data, and it shows us odd outliers, trends, and correlations. So for example, here we have a very similar pattern, goes up and down, but everything between 0 and 10K of CO2 emissions. But there's some odd peak here in December 2020. Do you want to know why? Do you want to understand a bit more? So it just brings it up to you, and then you can go and sort of go to the raw data and investigate why did that happen. Similar to correlation. So for example, we can see here in the right-hand side, we have our office here in Bern in Germany and another office here in Japan. But for some reason, they're behaving the same way. There's two very odd correlations, there's two odd peaks from these two offices at the same time. So instead of you having to go through all your data, this just comes to you and says, hey, something odd happened here. Do you want to understand why?
Yeah. And I guess you can either take corrective action if it's wrong.
Yep.
Get an audit trail behind that.
Indeed.
Or you can choose to say, okay, that's not bad. That's
happened. Yeah. But at least, instead of having you to go through all this raw data that a lot of our customers are currently have to do so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Daniel. So really interesting. Hopefully that gave you a good flavor of what Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability is. You saw a bit of Sustainability Manager, which is our environmental reporting tool. You saw social and governance. So when we start to talk about CSRD, you started to see how we can build those CSRD reports based off the data we have. And then you also saw, that output both from a CSRD regulatory output perspective, but also from GRI, plus other frameworks that we support. Hopefully what we showed you was how important the data was, the importance of data, and how important FellowMind are part and parcel of this, you know, taking that double materiality assessment, translating that into something meaningful in terms of what's material to a business and how you go about this, because this is a journey. You know, you don't just switch CSRD on in 2 days and hey presto, we're done. You know, this is a journey. How do we get from point A to point B through Horizon 1, however you want to do it? And, you know, FellowMind are superb at this, you know, taking a proof of concept, showcasing how you can actually get that data, how you can ingest that data, transform the data, and start to effectively arrive at some of the capabilities Daniel's shown here. So importance of data is critical. And again, once you've got that, you know, from a Microsoft point of view, we're committed to building AI into the platform like we do it across all of our platforms and our technologies. We have an evolving roadmap, which we disclose on Microsoft.com. You know, you can go see what is coming next. 2 wave releases every year in March and usually around September, October time, where we're disclosing new functionality. A lot of the investment obviously is around regulation, but a lot of the investment is around making sure we can simplify some of these frameworks that our customers have to deal with. So thank you. Back to you, Louise.
Yeah. Then, of course, I want to go into how can we, as you say, as a partner to Microsoft and a partner to you as a customer, help you on this journey, leveraging the technology that Microsoft is developing. And I really want to underline that it is a journey, that where you go from leveraging the data and digital tools and systems that you have per today to get into this full-blown state of where you actually lead your business with sustainability. We see it as 4 steps, where you start with the establishment of your data governance and processes, and I will walk you through each and of these steps. You will likely be in any one or the other, of course. It might so be that you're in different on the different topics on E, S, and G, actually on different levels or in different parts of your organization. When you have established your data governance and processes in its basis, then you can move on to actually improve your data transparency, and to then actually gain more and more insights and more accurate insights. And with those, of course, take the right actions. By having the insights, you will be able to actually come to this full-blown state where you lead as your business with sustainability data. The first step, and I want to also emphasize that, as Andrew and Daniel has been repeating, it's all about data I mean, both for compliance, but also, of course, to take the right actions and do that both from an sustainability perspective, but also from a financial perspective.
And this isn't just about a technology transformation, right?
No,
It's about business transformation and how you start moving towards our sustainability
and go to that
goals.
top level.
Yeah.
And so, in order to do that, you need to have a data platform in place. We recommend that you do this with Microsoft Fabric. Then you will be able to leverage the data models that you have been referring to. But we do work with other technologies, so any other data platform you are on per today, we will most likely be able to support you on that as well. And of course, we as well want to ensure that we use whatever AI capabilities, AI services or co-pilots that are in either Fabric or in Azure or any of the other technologies that you have been talking about today. So that is a continuous effort that we do throughout supporting your improving your performance. On establishing the data governance, then actually I'm almost taking a step back in managing your ESG data, and it doesn't necessarily actually need to be in Sustainability Manager. We can support and help you already before that. If you have your data, as you say, in Excels per today, in SharePoints, documents, let's start with that. Let's leverage the Microsoft Power Platform even to start doing workflows so you get yourself started. If it's too cumbersome to actually, do a full implementation, it's similar to doing maybe smaller ERP implementations. So we can already now, today, get started with what you have on your desk. And then, of course, with that, at least take the sustainability easy reporting solution into play. Since, the CSRD is not waiting for you. We can wait a day or two with the sustainability
Not
manager. I really recommend to get you on there as soon as possible. But the reporting, the output from a compliance, and your investors will look into it, that needs to get out for some of you by this year end. Yep. So we can do this combination of technologies that we already have in play. But then it gets more exciting when you move on to the next step. So to improve your data, let's see, we do this. Your data transparency and data control, I would say. So now it's about actually really the sustainability manager from Microsoft, where you take control of how you calculate your emissions, what emission factors are you using, more granular emission factors than maybe what you do today in a third-party system. You are in much larger control with Microsoft Sustainability Manager. And of course, the more you understand the data you have that is coming from your business, then of course you want to improve the data quality. So it's more and more going from the compliance perspective, but actually reaching to then gaining insights and driving the right change and transforming your business as well. So with more data, with better data, you're getting closer and closer to that. What can also be leveraged maybe at this stage is a solution you didn't touch upon today, the ESG value chain. But
you didn't,
But we all have been repeating on that this is not something you do on your own. This is a value chain effort. It's something that supports you in collecting this data, emissions, Scope 3 emissions, for instance, from your value chain partners. Really making it more effective, and even with the possibilities to automate that as well, and of me having to send out thousands of emails.
Yeah, and ensuring data quality.
You have the traceability
exactly.
Tracing that back. So with more and more data in place, you of course can start to gain insights, and good insights. And now we are really on the operation of your business, as mentioned, with the challenges that we see the electricity bills going, both as private persons and our organizations. So here, it's also we move from not only working with ESG data, but also then combining it with, for instance, financial data. Now it's really important to have this data platform in place. It's not just about applications that we are running as silos, but actually in one place. And of course, with the insights, you're then also able to streamline your operations. What I think is important to emphasize throughout all steps is not only is it a one-man show in the value chain, but also within the company. Yeah. Microsoft Teams, there are capabilities on the different solutions you have been mentioning today, which also makes it much more easier to collaborate when, hey, I'm missing that business travel report.
Or go chat on one of the KPIs. This KPI doesn't look like it's performing well. What are we going to do about it?
They're already used to it when it comes to how the business is running. But I think we will have, some companies already do have ESG or emission budgets, internal carbon pricing. I think we will just see more and more of that.
More of it, absolutely.
And when you have this much data in place, then we as well then can really leverage more advanced AI capabilities. I mean, that is not doable when we're in this very first stage with Excel. You are not building up, for instance, a digital twin or leveraging IoT, Internet of Things, with real-time monitors on your energy consumption. But at this phase, I mean, you also as an organization will be mature enough to work on this, and this is when it gets really interesting and taking the right decisions and leading your business. And you now should have been reaching the full or the highest level where you and where we want to stay then. So it means we both as a business can survive, but also as a planet and society can survive, where you integrate your ESG and business. And I mean, business we already know and pushing, of course, and want to do that data driven and make the right decisions made on real, actual, trustable data. But that should be the case going forward as well on sustainability and ESG data. And repeating over again, you want then to have real-time data access. You don't want to realize that 1 year later when you're reading your annual sustainability report, oh, did I do like that? I mean, we don't do our finances that way, or we don't run our business that way, and nor should we do when it comes to sustainability. I want to show you two customer examples. The one this first one, OSTP, we got the nomination from Microsoft as a global finalist in the Sustainability Changemaker category. They are a Finnish steel producer, steel pipe producer. What we did with them was actually to implement the Sustainability Manager to improve and help and optimize their emission reporting, data collection and reporting, and building that together with what they already had in place in terms of Azure Data Platform and numerous other Microsoft technologies such as ERP. And we have a great video produced by Microsoft that we are happy to share. So I hope that I will now be able to switch over to that, since it really summarizes the work in a... To close that mode. Yeah. We looking towards my colleague? Do we have it? No. Yeah. Let's do so. We have. Do you see that? I would like to do the presentation. Let's do so that because I think both this video and the one on the next case, let's share them, the links after. They are both on YouTube. So and I really recommend you to see them. It's just 2.5 minutes long and really summarizes the work in a good way. But with OSTP, they are a long-time partner to us. They really enjoy working with us because they think we are not just a technology provider, but really challenging them in their strategy and now so also on sustainability. They have set a quite ambitious goal on being net zero by 2025 in their own operation. They are on a good way. And now we're getting really close. But what they realized reach that goal and of course continue that journey, they need better data insight. It can't be one man or a very few number of people working on that. So to ramp up those efforts and also with the CSRD, but that was actually not the driving point in this case. What I really think is great with OSTP's work as well is how the data that we've been working on together with them is leveraged in the business already. So, in quotes to their customers, not only are they providing the price, I mean that we all get in a quote, but actually the footprint
So
of
the footprint as well.
Yes. And now it's been a yearly exercise to look into the emissions, but with the help now with the sustainability manager and connecting it with their other business systems, they are reaching close to real-time data. So it's a great example of driving efficiency internally, reducing their emissions, sharing this with customers, and then of course reporting and compliance as well.
Again, reiterates the fact it's a journey.
It's
a journey, and it's about the data and making sure that
Yeah.
you get the data right as every step that you take on that journey.
And what I can mention here as well is, I mean, when we started working with the sustainability manager, when that became general available, some now too soon, 2.5 years ago, I recall that you were emphasizing start small. It's a journey. Don't do this full-blown implementation. And so we did a proof of concept, proof of value with OSDP, and now they are continuously together with us implementing it for more and more scopes, for instance, for more and more organizational units. So start with easy ones, or start with the ones that are standing for the most of your emissions, for instance, and then we take it step by step. We have another great case with Drake and Frel, a Dutch refurbishment e-waste company. With this case, we actually were the partner of the year in Netherlands. And what we did with them is supporting them in running their business. We actually didn't use the Microsoft technology that has been presented today, but a number of other technologies that have already been around for quite some while. The ERP, the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations, a number of Azure services, as well as Power Platform, and more specifically Power Apps. So since they are a refurbishment company, they have, how to say, backward logistic processes. When we usually say that we have you take a raw material, get it into your company B, and then put it out to the C, to the customer. This is the way around. You start with the customer, providing it back to you, and then either it's for to recycle, or actually then come up with, I mean, take the good parts and something that is broken and build a
circular economy.
Circular, exactly.
Yeah.
And there we found a way, even if Dynamics Finance Operation is built on the more standard, the scenario that we are, many businesses are driving their business per today, we shape that, and much with the help then with customized applications in Power Platform to support them and really reduce the manual work as much as possible. And that, I mean, with apps that you can have, I'm sure, like you have it in your you have it in your hand in whatever device it is. So we have a great video summarizing that case as well that we will share with you all afterwards.
I think that's an interesting one as well, because that's starting with the ERP. You know, and again, that's really important, that sort of integration from that core line of business system. It's not all about Excel. You know, there are line of business systems, whether it be SAP, whether it be our own finance and operations. That's a great starting point to get that data and ingest that data and transform it.
Yeah, and I mean, nothing really on compliance. Of course, they have regulations to comply with as well. But this is, I mean, they are already, in that sense, I mean, on this journey that I showed you, they are already per se in this last top stage of running your business in a sustainable way. But of course, want to do that effectively.
Save time and money.
Yes. I think we are getting closer to wrap up. I think anyone listening in today is happy that we maybe did it a little bit shorter. Yeah, and of course with the videos that did save us some time. The poll should have been open the entire time. I want to just finish off with showing one way that we can help. I mentioned sustainability maturity assessment being one way. We have this quick scan where we, in a day together with you and your key stakeholders around sustainability, likely IT and finance as well, we sit together and assess where are you currently. What is your current state on this sustainability journey in terms of digitalizing it? Together, we can then set up a personalized ESG digitization roadmap, and where we show what and when different Microsoft technologies can come into play as well, of course, whatever added value and customizations we might do as a partner. So that is one of the ways we can help you, but there are numerous others as well. As you said, maybe it's more from the ERP angle. That's where we start. We're already doing business together with you on that. So we're really happy to support you on that.
Excellent. We're here to help.
Yeah,
indeed.
I mean, this is truly something we do together, both from a technology perspective,
It's a partnership, and that's what's critical.
Yeah,
Yes.
but as well on actually, I mean, driving the sustainable change.
Yeah.
We do it together. There's no other way. So with that said, thank you very much for joining today.
Thank you for
Pleasure
giving us
to
the
be here.
opportunity.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
I
very
wish you all a good day.
much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.